back to my YouTube channel. And today I have a pretty cool tutorial I'm going to show you all guys. Today I'm going to show you how to clean a carburetor and how to deal with these dirt bike problems that a lot of people deal with. So first of all, let's start with the dirt bike. This dirt bike is from one of my friends, and he let me borrow it because he said it was leaking gas, it was bogging, and it was just not acting normal. It was really just giving him a lot of problems. So today I'm going to show you how to deal with those problems. So first of all, we're going to start by changing out the front tire, seeing if the tube is still okay. Now another thing I want to show you guys is the problem that it has when it comes to bogging. Now one of the problems that this bike has is that when you turn it on, it won't stay on idle, and when you go to accelerate, it'll just bog. It won't like give that high rev. It'll just give some outbursts of energy and then it'll just shut off. So there's a few things that can contribute to this problem. Number one could be that you're not getting enough fuel, which means you need to adjust the carburetor. Two, your air filter could be bad. And also, you could have a dirty carburetor or a maladjusted carburetor, like I just said. Now, for two-stroke people, if you try both of these things, if you try cleaning the carburetor and cleaning the air filter, you might as well check the oil, because it could be an oil problem. And if you don't run a two-stroke with oil, it'll completely break the engine, and the engine will just blow up. You're gonna have to get a new engine, new piston, new sleeve, new everything. And it'll cost you a crap ton. Now this is a 4-stroke bike. It's a CRF 150. And today what I'm going to show you guys how to do is I'm going to show you how to clean the carburetor and how to find these problems and fix them. Now, one of the other problems this bike was having is it was leaking a crap ton of gas. But I fixed that because the gas line was off the carburetor, and I fixed that when we were riding over at the track. So now, without further ado, let's start by changing out the front tire. Now on second thought, I'm not going to change the front tire right now because the purpose of this video was to show you how to clean out the carburetor and deal with the bogging problem. So I'm going to take off the carburetor right now, and I'm going to show you guys how to clean it. So to change the carburetor, you need to take off any screws that you see. Not all of them, but the ones that connect to the carburetor. You need to take off the bolts that connect to the engine. Don't take off the rubber part, just take off the carburetor part. Take off these bolts. When it comes to cables, when it comes to gas lines, first of all, you need to turn your fuel off. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the fuel off. It's really stuck. Okay, so right now my fuel is off. So you need to turn your fuel off and then disconnect the gas line from the carburetor without breaking it, because they're pretty fragile. So now that you've taken off the gas line, go ahead and take off another piece and then just start loosening the carburetor. And then when you take it out, you need to be careful with the throttle cable. You need to open this. It opens like a bottle cap. And you need to disconnect the throttle cable. Okay, so I've taken off the carburetor, and I just wanted to show you guys one of the ways to know if your carburetor is clean or dirty is you need to check that needle tip. Let it concentrate. Let it concentrate. You need to clean that needle tip. If that needle tip looks dirty or black, that means your carburetor, there's something wrong, and you need to clean your carburetor. Okay, so now that we have our carburetor out, we're gonna go ahead and open it up and see what the problem is. Now, I do recommend you have paper towels or a tray, because there still is gas in the carburetor. So now let's open up the carburetor and let's clean it up. this is one of the things that indicates that your carburetor is really dirty. It's not opening up, or it's a little tight. And also look how dirty that is. You can start to see all that gunk in there, that main jet. That's what we're gonna clean right now. So let me get my hammer. Let's try to loosen this top off. There we go. Okay, let's take the top off. And wow, look at that. Look how dirty that is. Now you can see, let me concentrate it for you. Look how gunky and dirty that is. And one of the problems that I found out now why it was leaking gas is we have a broken gasket. Now I don't have a gasket for this right now, so I'm gonna have to redo it. And I have some gasket maker to do it. So let's take this gasket out. Yeah, this is rotten. Look at all that. Look at all that gunk coming out of that carburetor. Okay, so now I got the carburetor apart and I took off the gaskets. I can already see one of the first problems. First of all, the float. When on these carburetors, the float, you want to have the float parallel. You want to have the float parallel to this line right here. And when you see that, let's settle the float. It's not. It's crooked, and that's what's causing all the gas to leak. Cause the valve down here, it's letting a bunch of gas in that it has in here. So see how uneven that is? So that's one of the problems we're gonna fix. And it's really easy to fix. All you need to do is bend this tab right here. You need to bend, and it's not hard to bend. But first we're gonna take off the float and we're gonna clean the carburetor. So let's take out the float. This little pin right here. So I was finally able to get the float out after a lot of work because it looks like this thing hasn't been cleaned in ages. And so now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to start spraying the carburetor with carburetor spray. Now there's a few main things that you need to always check and clean when you're doing on a carburetor. You need to clean the main jet and the pilot jet. The main jet is where the gas goes into the motor and puts it directly into the motor through the little, I don't know if you guys can see it, but the main jet is what throws the gas into the engine. You always need to make sure it's clean. Now, there's a bunch of little holes through these jets, and what I recommend doing is grabbing a needle and pushing all the dirt and gunk that they're stuck in there. Now, there's a way to know if they're clean or not, and that's what I'm going to show you right now. First of all, you need to check. When you take out those jets, you need to put them in towards the light, and you need to make sure that the holes are perfectly clear, that you can see sunlight through them. If you can't, get a needle and push the dirt through. But first, you need to quench the carburetor with carburetor clean and spray. They sell it at Walmart's, auto parts store. You can basically get them anywhere where there's car parts or tools. Home Depot also sells them. So now I got my my Phillips screwdriver, or my flathead, I don't know what they're called, forgot. And we're gonna take off the pilot jet. this is the part that it's gonna get a little messy. You might want to get some paper towels and or a small tray. What we're gonna do now is we're gonna spray the carburetor with carb spray. When you spray a carburetor with carb spray, you want to make sure you get in every spot. First, open the choke completely, open it, and just start spraying carb spray in there. Make sure you get every little hole, like these little side holes, and you get the jet hole too. You want to get the fluid in the carburetor, and you want to make sure it gets in. For the jets, you want to make sure the fluid goes right through all the holes, and you want to leave it perfectly clean. So now that we cleaned the carburetor and everything, we're gonna put it back together and we're gonna see how this dirt bike runs. Okay, so I'm almost done putting together the carburetor. I put some gasket maker on there, made the gasket, and what I wanted to show you, the point that I made before, is that float needs to be aligned with the line right there. And you need to do the tap. Now, wherever the float settles is where it's supposed to be. And see, when it settles, it's a little higher, but I think it'll be fine. I might have to pull the tab up a little bit. Maybe I overdid it a little bit. But as you can see, for the most part, it'll stay level. And that's really important. You need to keep this line right here leveled with the float. Because if it's not leveled, you're going to have leaking problems. Too much gas is going to go to the engine and you could flood your engine. So now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to install the carburetor on the dirt bike, and we're going to see the difference on what it did. So I wired brushed the carburetor, we built it, and now we're gonna try to kick it, start it. I think it's gonna take 5 kicks to start. Let's find out.